Welcome back everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to smoke beef back ribs. Now we're going to get started by setting up our smoker. We're going to be using the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco drum for this cook. Alright, so we'll open her up, take out our cooking grate and our heat deflector. Then we'll fill our charcoal basket up with either lump charcoal or briquettes. This won't be a long cook, so I'm just happy to half fill it. So I'm just going to pile them up on one side. Then I'll get a fire lighter in there and light it up. Now we've got about 10 minutes before those briquettes will be ready, so we'll use that time to trim and prepare these beef ribs. Alright, so we've got our beef back ribs here. As you can see, there is nowhere near as much meat on back ribs as there are on short ribs. We've got a nice 6 rib rack here, so we're just going to start by taking any excess fat and silver skin off. So it's the silver skin that sits underneath the fat that will just go tough and chewy if you don't remove it. It's not going to render down, it'll just continue to toughen up as it cooks, so that's why I like to remove it. And always try and pull away from the knife if you can grab hold of the silver skin or the fat, and that way your knife will do less work and you've got a much less chance of slipping with your knife as well. Just tidy up that bit of fat there. Looks like that membrane's already started to come off. So we'll just continue to work under that seam and peel it off. Just like so. Right, now these are ready to season. Alright, so if you've got a favourite beef rub, go ahead and use that. We're going to be using a new beef rub I'm working on. So what we're going to do is we're going to give both sides of our ribs a light coat in mustard. That's just going to help our rub adhere to the meat. So we'll go ahead and get these seasoned up. Alright, these are all seasoned up. Let's check our briquettes. Alright, so as you can see, our firelight is burnt out and our briquettes have caught light nicely. So what we can do is we'll shut our lid, we'll open up our top and intake vent completely. And for this cook, I want to run our smoker at about the 275 Fahrenheit or 135 Celsius range. So once we get to about 250 Fahrenheit or 120 Celsius, I'm going to start shutting down our intake vent. So we'll be back once this barbecue is ready to go. Alright, so we're just about at temperature. So I'll shut this intake down a little bit and I'll get some smoking wood on. Got a couple of beautiful little black wattle chunks. So I'll put one straight on where the fire's burning and then another one just off. And just for reference, that charcoal basket's just a little bit over halfway full. So I reckon that's going to get us 6 to 7 hours burn time. Then we can get our heat deflector back in, then our cooking grate, and then we'll get our beef ribs on. Now we can close our lid and work on stabilising this temperature off. Alright, so now our beef ribs are on, we need to get this barbecue stable, and I'm going to do that by using our intake vent. So I'm just going to give it 10 minutes now to see where it stabilises off, and if I need to increase temperature, I'm going to open that vent up slightly. If I need to decrease, I'll shut it down slightly. Then it's just a matter of giving it some time, seeing where it stabilises off, making the necessary adjustments until you find that sweet spot. And as for the beef ribs, we're going to treat these more like a pork rib cook because they are a little bit thinner. They are quite lean. We're going to wrap these up. I reckon that'll be at about the 1.5 to 2 hour mark into this cook, but we'll go through it a bit more in depth along the way. So we'll come back once we're ready for the next stage of this cook. All right, these ribs have been in for just over 2 hours. They're ready to wrap. So let's have a look at them. All right, so the bark is set nicely on there and we're at an internal temperature in the thickest part of around 160 Fahrenheit or 70 degrees Celsius. So let's get these out. So I've just got some butcher's paper here, a little bit of butter down on there. We're just going to lay our ribs straight on that. I'll put some butter on top as well. I'll give them a light spritz as well. Then we'll wrap them up nice and tight and get them back in the smoker. Alright, so that butter and giving them a spritz in that butcher's paper is really going to help retain moisture. And now they're back in the smoker, we're just going to leave them now until we're ready to check for probe tenderness. Now we're going to start doing that at the 200 Fahrenheit or 93 degrees Celsius internal mark. So if you've got a meat probe, feel free to insert it into the thickest part of them ribs and we'll come back once we're ready to check for probe tenderness. I reckon it's going to take another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to get there. Alright, so it's been about 1 hour 45 since we wrapped them up. We've just about hit our target internal, so let's have a probe. Alright, so that's starting to feel soft there. Still a little bit of resistance. There's still quite a bit of resistance on this side. And we're at about 202 internal. So what we'll do now is we'll close our lid and we'll come back to check them every half an hour to 45 minutes until we're happy with probe tenderness. Right, so it's been another 45 minutes since we checked in last. They are probing quite nicely now, so I'm going to unwrap them just so I can probe around a bit more and get a real good feel for them. Alright, so I'm happy with how they're feeling, so let's get them out. Alright, so I'm just going to let these ribs sit at room temperature unwrapped just to stop that cooking process for about 5 minutes. And by doing that, that's going to ensure our ribs don't overcook. If you were to leave them wrapped up, especially if you're using foil, they're going to continue to cook and potentially be overdone. So make sure you let them steam off, and then I'm going to wrap them back up in that butcher's paper and let them sit at room temperature for about 45 minutes before I'm ready to serve them. But if you wanted to serve them in 2, 3 or 4 hours time, you can always rest them in a cooler, and that's going to give you a good amount of time for those ribs to get a really nice rest, especially if they are done early. But for now, we're going to give these ribs a rest, and we'll come back once we're ready to slice and serve them. All right, these are ready. Time to slice them open. We'll have a look, and then we'll have a taste. So they are looking fantastic. Awesome smoke ring, nice and juicy. Let's have a taste. All right, time for a taste. Wow, that is so tasty. Nice and tender. They probably could have gone a little further, to be honest, but still got a nice clean bite. Flavor's amazing, juicy as everything you want in a beef rib. So if you can get hold of some beef back ribs, definitely give them a shot. We picked these up from our butcher at Austral Meats. Like you've seen, you do have to treat them a bit different to standard beef short ribs, but the results speak for themselves. Definitely give them a try. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.